Why did you leave BiggerPockets?
Ooh, that's a good question. I love BiggerPockets still to today. It wasn't mine, and I'm an egomaniac.
I called that at the beginning of the show, right? Did we all hear that?
Yeah, that's not entirely. I mean, it's half joke, but it's not entirely wrong. Certain people like. Here's what it is. I mean, there's a lot of reasons I could lay out here, but I'm going to go kind of a logical, mathematical way. At some point, BiggerPockets, when I started there, I didn't know internet marketing. I didn't know how to teach. I didn't know real estate education. I didn't know a lot of things. I didn't know how to do things. I used that position to help them grow to a pretty massive level. And I learned a ton in the process. And I had equity there and I had a salary there. I made money. I had some part of the company, and that was great. But at some point, the ratio switched in terms of I then no longer believed that I had a higher financial and happiness benefit here as I would on my own. At some point, that equation shifts, and like it was like a teeter-totter, and it was like, doop. And all of a sudden, I realized like, oh, I would be better off on my own. And I would make more money on my own. I would be happier on my own. I'd have more control on my own. And it still took me from that, when I realized that teeter-totter, it still took me 2 or 3 years to actually leave, because it's hard to leave comfort, like easy money. Like it was a good job.
Yeah,
and I was a big deal there.
Yeah,
like
you're still a big deal.
Thank you, but I'm not. I mean, like I left a podcast with 300,000 listens per episode to one that has I don't know, whatever 5% of that. I don't know. We're getting 10% of that. Whatever.
Stetson knows.
Yes, it's like the question I had when I left, and the reason it took me so long to leave, is I didn't know if I was Justin Timberlake or the other guy in NSYNC that I don't know his name.
Oh, I love that analogy. I haven't heard this analogy in a long time.
Yeah, when NSYNC broke up, Justin Timberlake, when he left them, he had no idea he was going to become Justin Timberlake.
Yeah, I forgot he was in NSYNC.
Yeah, he was just one of the guys in NSYNC. But what about the other guy in NSYNC, the guy with the goatee? I don't even know his name. Nobody knows his name. Like, I feel bad if you're listening, dude. Sorry.
Yeah. He's a tribe member.
Yeah. Hey. But like, Justin Timberlake didn't know he was going to blow up when he left NSYNC. I didn't know if this was going to work. It hasn't worked yet. I mean, I'm not the Dave Ramsey of real estate. I'm not as popular as I was when I was at BiggerPockets. But I believe 100% that I will be, because I just have a big vision of giving away $1 billion. In order to be able to do that, I'm going to have to be the Dave Ramsey of real estate, and I'm going to hire good people like you to come make it true.
I admire the confidence. I also think you probably make a terrible employee.
Terrible.
Yeah.
I was really bad as an employee.
You passed up, I don't know, does anybody know the story? You passed up management?
I mean, I
don't say that like negatively, but like roles that you're wrong for.
I deliberately stepped back several times from wanting to lead anything in that organization, because you get promoted to incompetence, right? It's very common in every business.
Peter principle, they call it.
Is it? Yeah. You just get promoted, and then all of a sudden now you're leading people. And I'm like, I don't want to lead. I'm really good at talking on a microphone. I'm pretty good at writing books. Like, why would I want to sit in a call for 8 hours a day with people telling them how to write books and how to talk on microphones?
Yeah.
Like, that just sounds silly. It's just, I think you know your role and what you're good at. And I stayed there for a while, and it was great. The last few years at BiggerPockets were amazing. I got to do what I liked doing. I didn't have to lead things. I wasn't even, like, I even left the board. I was on the board for a while. I left that. I'm like, I don't want to make decisions. I just like being on a microphone and writing books.
Was that, I'm getting personal now. Can you give me a timetable here? Was that like, hey, I'm going to step away because you were doing other side gigs at that point? Or were you just like, no, I really genuinely, authentically am not built for that? Because that's that's an ego. Yeah. It's hard to say no to promotion.
Yeah. It is hard to say no to promotion, though. Like I don't know if this come out weird, and the current BiggerPockets leadership, like, they're amazing and they're better than me than I could ever be at those positions. But like, I still had the ego, like I still had the spiritual role of the leader of BiggerPockets, whether or not I was running the meetings, right? Like,
you're the face.
Yeah, sure. I was still the face of BiggerPockets, so I didn't have to have the title of CEO or whatever, in order to still be in charge. I will say this: I didn't leave with no parachute. Like I built Open Door Capital for 3 years before leaving, or 2.5 years. So I knew it was coming at some point. So I started again, I'm so anti-risk in every area of my life. It's just like I knew it eventually would be there, whether it would be 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, I didn't know. So I built up Open Door Capital, and it started doing really well. if that wasn't going as well, I probably wouldn't have left right when I did. I would have probably started something else like the mortgage company or whatever. And then I would have waited till that got a little bit more well established. And that did two interesting things. One, the little bit of financial cushion. And two, men especially get their identity and their career really intertwined, right? Like I am BiggerPockets and BiggerPockets is me. And that there was a unraveling that has to happen anytime you leave a career. Like you and your identity are the same in a lot of what your career and your identity are the same. And so what we see happen all the time, you and I both have friends who have sold big companies or sold their business, and all of a sudden they're just lost for years. Like, what do I do?
Well, I see it in military.
In military,
Military's
huge. Yep.
so bad.
You're 100%. And then when you lose that, yeah, it's terrible. So what I did is I built up a new identity before I left my previous one. So Open Door Capital became the new one. Then when I left BiggerPockets, I had a parachute. I had a tether.
You had a place to go.
Yeah, I had a place to go. And so I just watched. And there was never an identity. Like people ask me, like, was that really hard to leave after 10 years? I'm like, oh, not really. I just walked out that door and into this door. Like it was actually really surprisingly easy because it was there for me versus just people I quit. Now I'm like, what do I do with my life? Actually, who told me that yesterday? They did that. They quit and they went into deep, dark depression, didn't know what to do with their life anymore for like a year because they didn't plan ahead of time.